All right, so for removing the control arms, we're gonna start with the top. This guy is a royal pain in the ass to remove. I think from the factory it's the other way around, so you can't like hammer it out easily. What I'd recommend doing is once you have the nut removed, make sure you can break it loose and spin this in here, and then you can start with trying to tap it out from the other side. I've already done this once before, so mine came out and I put it in the more correct way around, if you will. There's 3 bolts up top, this guy, here, and here. We'll remove those 3. I've already gone ahead and removed this one here. We'll take out this whole assembly and then we'll replace these 2. All right, so I have the top 3 removed. I have them set roughly where I'll know where they are. I have a jack stand under the control arms to support the whole knuckle as it falls. Okay, so I used my screwdriver as a wedge to try to pry this apart. I hammered it up and into it. And then I was able to use the hammer in here to hit up against here, and it finally popped out. So I used the jack on the bottom of the knuckle here, let it down just a little. That let me slip this spline between here. And now, this guy is gonna be awkward to do with one hand. Can just pull right out. All right, got these 2 guys in. I swapped this bolt because the way it goes in the car when it's sitting up in this area here, you can't pull the bolt out because they have the bolt going in this direction. So I swapped it around. So if I ever have to replace this, it's a little bit easier and I don't have to drop this whole assembly out. And then I have these both just tight enough where they're not gonna fall on me, but I can still move them, and that'll make getting them back into the top of the knuckle easier. All right, I have the 3 bolts up top just slightly tight, so this guy's just kind of hanging in there. With these loose, and it was very easy. I used the jack to raise the knuckle up just a little bit, and then I was able to rock it back and forth and push these guys in. And then now we should be golden to pop it in. I'll probably throw some anti-seize on this because goddamn, that shit is nasty. All right, so I got this guy removed. It was pretty easy. I kind of had to just sit there and walk the bolt out before I could finally get my fingers on it to kind of pull it out. This is kind of a pain in the ass because this is still steel before they switch to aluminum. So loosen this, get this down to the bottom pretty much so you can kind of spin it by hand. I set a little bit of PB Blaster up here and I just went away with the hammer, tapping here and then here. And now, all right, so here I have the old one laid out and the new one, just making sure that this is facing the right way and the bolt is the same direction. All right, so with the combination of moving and raising the jack, I got this guy started. I have the nut on here just so it won't fall out. Still have this disconnected and push as far forward as I can. And then I was able to finally get this guy started. So I'll go ahead and slide this in, get the nut on just to make sure it doesn't fall out. Next, I'll move the jack around and get this guy in. Okay, well that took a lot longer than I'm willing to admit, but I finally got it in there. I left this nut off here. Didn't get this in until just now. Make sure this guy is on this side of the control arm. If it gets, or the sway bar, if it gets kind of like pulled in, it'll kind of like bind up against your sway bar because I have it connected on the other side. But have this over here so it doesn't get as bound up. And then here, it took a while for the bolt to finally line up to go through the back hole. So I had to spend a lot of time like trying to pull it around with both of these disconnected. And this basically like as far down as it would go, so that way this was out of the way. Set an extension down through here, and then with the nut loose and towards the top, you can start tapping on it to push out this control arm. So for me, I've already dealt with this, but I'll tell you what to do. Start with removing it from the knuckle here, loosen the 18 on top, and then kind of hammer it down. Take the nut off, leave this guy hanging so you can move it around with your hand. Take off the nut, that'll be on the inside. Pull out the bolt as much as you can, and then you'll kind of want to use your wrench and work it back. You'll kind of like thread it out, and you can see here there's some damage from me doing this. And then you'll have to move these lines here, pull this out of the way, and the lines will give enough flex for you to just barely pull it out. And with the combination of being able to move this guy around, you'll be able to pull it out. Okay, for going back together, don't try to get the bolt in this way. Instead, you'll want to put the bolt in this way, and you can kind of like use your fingers like this to push it through, and then we'll rock the arm. Alrighty, so I got this guy in, I got that bolt in and just started. This one I got pretty tightened down, just so I don't have to deal with, or just so that way the strut will hold everything. This one's hand tight, this one's hand tight, hand tight. I have one more bolt to put in, and then I'm gonna double check it back under here and push this up till everything is pretty level. Okay, got the sway bar bolt in. These guys are both pretty snug. Everything else is loose though, except for these two, you know, as I've been saying. I have it jacked up to about ride height. You can see that's pretty level and that's pretty level. I don't want to go much higher because I want to still make sure that the jack has the car. Alrighty, still got the car at ride height, but I got everything tightened. Those top bolts up there are nice and good. These guys been tight. Tighten this sucker. Both of these are now tight. I use the jack to push up on the sway bar a little bit with this fully drooped to get the bolt in. Clean the brake rotor, throw the wheel on, and go for a test drive.